This is the final Cody Rhodes update. My name is Ango. In this video, we're going to take a look at some breaking news. Absolutely massive. Cody Rhodes, the saga, everything about it has been absolutely crazy. Conflicting reports on a daily basis. And as you know, I've been trying to keep you updated with it because that's kind of the job, here on YouTube. I give you my reactions to the latest stories. And now Mike Johnson from PW Insider has officially confirmed that WWE did in fact sign Cody Rhodes. So for those who thought it was just rumors, for those who didn't actually, believe it was happening, for those who said it was a work, for those who said AEW was working everybody, nobody really knows behind closed doors what was really happening, but there was a lot of strong indication that we received, on a daily basis that Cody going to WWE was very likely. Mike Johnson of PW Insider states Cody has signed with WWE. Multiple WWE sources have confirmed Rhodes inked his deal about 10 to 14 days ago. The current plan is to have Rhodes debut Wrestlemania weekend, with the early word among those in the company being that Rhodes will be on the Raw brand. So obviously everything that we have seen thus far is obviously it's accurate, right? There was talks about Cody versus Seth Rollins on their main roster at WrestleMania. There was plans for Cody originally that were reported that Cody going to Raw would be the one that makes the most sense. Obviously Brandy Rhodes was not in the equation, and as it appears now, that doesn't seem to be the case. And, I see a lot of people going back and forth as to whether or not WWE should have signed Cody. And, I want people to know that obviously, as I talk about wrestling news on this channel, my goal is to give you my honest and genuine reactions through all the big stories. And there was a lot of stories on Cody and Brandy, and there was a lot of updates. And, I think for those who truly argued that this was a work, I don't blame you. I want you guys to know that. I don't blame you for thinking that this could have potentially been a situation where AEW was going to actually bring in Cody to run ROH. And the reason why I don't blame you, and the reason why I really want to talk about that, is because Cody Rhodes literally was talking about the future being bizarre. Now, one thing about Tony Khan, and I want to say this because this is credit to Tony Khan and AEW. Tony Khan, from what I've seen so far, has not indicated that he has not indicated whatsoever that he's been lying to the public about Cody Rhodes or any of these big stories and stuff like that. They made the statement that Cody Rhodes was not going to be there. He was asked about it before. He was asked about it in media scrums, and he's always remained adamant like it was a real thing. And obviously, when you try to argue that it's a work, I can understand why people would feel that way, why people would think, hey, this is potentially a work. Again, I understand where you're coming from, but you also have to look at the realistic possibilities. Cody Rhodes, everything that happened with Cody Rhodes was something that we didn't expect, and it came out of nowhere, and because it came out of nowhere, and because this was something that just randomly happened, everybody was confused as to what was going on. I personally think Cody Rhodes going to WWE is the right decision, and for those who don't like Cody Rhodes, I've read the bullshit, okay? I've seen people say, oh, now that he's going to WWE, he sucks. Like you guys, like there wasn't people on social media talking about how amazing Cody Rhodes and Sammy Guevara was, but now all of a sudden he's going to WWE and he sucks and he's not even good, and AEW, blah, 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 like all this stuff. It's just noise, okay? At the end of the day, this is something that I think needs to be talked about. Cody going to WWE is not a bad thing for AEW, right? CM Punk could leave AEW tomorrow, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think AEW has a very strong following. I think AEW is successful for their own reason, and I think Cody Rhodes going to WWE would be what's best for Cody Rhodes in his career. And I'm saying this from a fan perspective, not as somebody who analyzes wrestling, but as a fan, I think Cody Rhodes is meant for the WWE product. I think he is meant for the program with Seth Rollins. I think he needs to be treated as a big deal. For this deal to be inked 10 to 14 days ago, it just goes to show you that WWE knew all along what we'd been talking about. And, I got some flack on social media, people telling me, Ango, how can you be so sure? Again, Tony Khan has not openly lied to his audience. And I just don't foresee a situation where Tony Khan would lie about this. I really don't. I genuinely did not believe that Tony Khan was willing to lie about the Cody Rhodes situation, especially with how smart his wrestling audience is. I don't think Tony Khan would have wanted to insult his audience by working them in this sort of situation. Now, with that being said, I also want to point out another thing. there has been a lot of discussion as to whether or not Sean Ross Sapp and Meltzer were trying to work the audience as well. And I think they were honestly in the dark with a lot of this, as a lot of people were. And that's why I think this became such a very interesting situation. I couldn't see this idea. I couldn't understand this idea of possibly Fightful or Meltzer like telling people, hey, he's doing this or he's doing that or here's an update to throw everybody off. I mean, keep in mind, Fightful Select has over 6,000 subscribers to their monthly service. I can't imagine them teaming up with AEW to work people. Like, I understand wrestling fans are in this like fantasy, but I just genuinely don't think that's the case. So again, credit to everybody, and I understandably so, you know, credit to everybody for coming together to see how this all, you know, came about. I appreciate you guys for supporting the channel. But most importantly, I appreciate you guys having that open dialogue. I saw some really, really great comments about, you know, fantasy booking scenarios for both companies, whether, you know, AEW brought in Cody for ROH or whether Cody went to WWE against Roman Reigns. And I think that's the best part about what we do, honestly, on this channel, talking about wrestling. I think the best part is actually having that conversation, you know, fantasy booking and thinking about cool ideas and the way you would run the show. I think that's what makes it good. So no, I'm not mad at any of you for telling me that, you know, I'm not mad at any of you for thinking that like I was wrong or something like that, because at the end of the day, I'm just here to bring my opinions, and you could be wrong, right? There's no guarantee that you're right or wrong, but I think it just comes to a point where like I see a lot of people that were like, hey, like Cody Rhodes doesn't matter, Cody Rhodes sucks, this is fake news, this is that. Like, we were following reports from like legitimate sources, you know, and that's the big thing. So Cody going to WWE, it's official. Cody has signed with WWE. Multiple WWE sources have confirmed 10 to 14 days ago is when he signed. The current plan is to have Cody Rhodes debut WrestleMania weekend, with the early word among those in the company being that Rhodes will be on the Raw brand. It's going to be massive. Cody Rhodes returning for WrestleMania is going to be, it's going to be massive for WWE. It's a big win for WWE, and I hope WWE doesn't drop the ball here. Obviously, that's a fear. You know, I seen somebody mention in the Discord server, they're like, hey, what if WWE, you know, trolled everybody and had like Stardust music hit? Like, dude, like that would be insane. Like, you're at WrestleMania and Stardust music hits, and then obviously his real music comes into play. You know, it's going to be really interesting to see how things unfold. I do want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below, as always. So thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. All the updates. I know it's a lot. I knew going into it, we were covering it a lot. But at the end of the day, this was a very, very big story, and it's cool to see that we finally got a definitive answer. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below.